Welcome to Dr. Dorian's House of Killers, where we take a look at all your favorite killers and see how they could be implemented into Dead by Daylight. Today we are taking a look at the teacher, Baldi, from Baldi's Basics. This is a suggestion from Lennox Animation Studios here on YouTube. I thank you for that, and I hope you enjoy this video. Roll the intro. In case you are unfamiliar with Baldi from Baldi's Basics, he is a teacher who has a great love for math, and if you mess up math answers, problems, whatever, he gets angry and starts hunting you. And he gets faster and faster with each mistake you make. So, let's just jump right into this killer. In case you want more information about the killer, I would suggest looking at the wiki. I'll have it down below. Also, you can look for some Let's Plays. Base stats, speed. Since there are multiple movement speeds, I will have them down in the description with meters per second and percentage. Baldi starts off at 105%, 4.2 meters per second. However, he will go up to 107.5%, then 110%, 112.5%, 115%, 117.5%, and 120% at the end, which equates to 4.3 meters per second, 4.4 meters per second, 4.5 meters per second, 4.5 meters per second, 4.6 meters per second, 4.7 meters per second, and then finally 4.8 meters per second. Whew. His size is medium. His terror radius will go from small to medium to big to very big to whatever. His effect, just so you know, in case you haven't watched a video before of mine, I am of the opinion killers should have different types of abilities to equip that are then influenced by their add-ons. So it's not just, okay, he has that power and the add-ons do this and that. Freddy is kind of okay with it because some of his add-ons actually change his powers very much, in certain aspects at least. But a lot of the killers, the modification is a bit, well, it's... there's not that much that you do, at least from what my experience. So anyway, enough ranting. So there is a map effect that each killer should have, or if they have one, they don't necessarily have to, but this effect should always be present no matter which abilities the killer picks, so that the absence or the change or whatever of this map effect, like the jigsaw boxes or the corrupted wells or the purified wells or whatever from the plague, that even though you know which killer it is, you don't know what powers they took, pretty much. And you don't know what add-ons they took to those powers. So that's the idea. Anyway, map effect. Notebooks. Carrying a notebook prevents the effects from phasing movement, mathematical balance, and timeout zone. Phasing movement is prevented 15 seconds after the first attempt in chase. We'll get to the build abilities later. One timeout zone is countered for the survivor while carrying the notebook. That means when the survivor comes into a timeout zone and does what he does to trigger it, then the notebook gets taken away and he can leave the zone without penalty. Of course, if he comes back, he needs a new notebook. And one mathematical balance is countered for the gen and the survivor is working on. If 2 or 3 or 4 survivors are working on the same gen, then all 3 of them lose their notebook. It's not that it's gonna prevent 3 gens or something like that. It's always the gen you're working on, and if nobody's working on a gen and they don't have a notebook, tough luck. Once the notebook is used, it disappears, so you have to get a new notebook from a notebook stand. Or from notebooks that are laying around. Who knows? Power 1, phasing movement. The teacher has 3 different movement phase sets: short, medium, and long distance. During his phase movement, he cannot attack, nor can he exit it early to attack. However, he does not have any kind of terrorities or any kind of red stain, anything that gives him away. He has 2 stacks and they replenish over time. No, I don't think it should be faster. Maybe it could be a bit faster, but I don't feel it necessarily has to be. The idea is that you, the way he moves in the game is he appears on closer to you, towards you, at certain intervals, and that you can use this ability to mind game. I guess pallets might be still be an obstacle, but to mind game. But you have to guess as a killer how far you actually want to go about, because most times you probably won't stick it right next to the survivor, but you want to get as close as possible, and you have the advantage of sneaking up while they have the advantage of you not being able to see. Well, I think the killer should, you shouldn't be able to see the survivors and they shouldn't be able to see you, but scratch marks might be an idea, and blood stains. And an increased speed won't be necessary, in my opinion, because we'll get to that later. Anyway, alternate power 2. Alternate power 1. Mathematical balance instead of phasing movement. Every 60 seconds, the teacher can average out the progress of all unfinished gens, taking the total progression and distributing it evenly. Each notebook that is used reduces the cooldown of mathematical balance by 6 seconds. So there's a lot maybe to unpack in here. The idea is that, say, no gen is done, and 3 gens are almost 90% done. Then there's one that's 20% done, and the 4, and the others are not done yet. So these 20 and 90% get taken, and they get distributed over all gens, even the ones that have not even been seen by a survivor, which of course takes the 90% down to, who knows, 20 or 30. But it also takes the uncompleted ones up to 20 and 30. So every gen at that point has the same amount of progression. If you have a notebook, that doesn't happen with your gen. Your gen keeps its progression, but it doesn't gain any progression either. However, if, let's say, 4 survivors are working on 4 different gens, do you even see when I don't know, on 4 different gens, and each have 1 notebook with them, then the notebook disappears, and the ability of the teacher becomes null and void, possibly, unless, of course, there's a gen that was worked on and then left out of whatever reason. That progression gets taken and distributed upon the gens that have not been worked on, whatever. However, the 4 that those survivors are then working on just stay the way they are. And all that happens is the notebook disappears. In that case, however, Baldi's ability can be activated faster again. Of course, if nobody has a notebook with them, or nobody's at the gen at the moment that the ability is executed, or something like that, it might be 60 seconds, it might be 54 seconds, it might be, you get the idea. Okay, I hope so, at least. I'm a bit ranting today in this whatever. Power 2, timeout zone. A timeout zone can be designated, so I don't know how it would be. Maybe there would be some kind of glowing area, and it would also be, of course, glowing for the survivors, or marking around the perimeter, or change or whatever. Not the moment you enter it, but when you're in it and had enough time to realize it, let's say half a second or something like that. If you are still running in this area and not in chase, you will get sent to the detention room.
Detention for you.
So The idea is that the killer can set up 1, maybe 2 areas. I don't think it should be that many areas where you can use this ability. I feel 1 is enough, but maybe 2, depending upon the size, I guess. So when a survivor runs through this area, only running, walking is okay, sneaking is okay, runs through this area, that survivor gets sent to detention, which would sort of give you a bit of map control, but only limited because it would only slow down survivors in that area for a certain distance. Of course, if you have a notebook, that disappears and you can just run through. If you are in chase, this ability doesn't work because, of course, how do you want to do this? That would be way too broken. So it only works when the person is not in chase. And as for the detention room, I thought maybe the basement, but although on the other hand, I think it might be a good idea if there an additional room then is made at the other place where the basement normally spawns, because as we all know, basements have 2 spawn places. And in that other place, there is the detention room. Also, after 15 seconds when detention is over and the survivor exits, his aura is revealed for 1 second. So the killer has a little bit of, oh, there's somebody over there kind of effect if he looks in that direction at that moment. That is. Now we come to the most interesting power, in my opinion, and that's the passive power, Irregular Movement. Each progression step that gets achieved makes the teacher angrier, increasing his movement speed as following. 1 gen completed, 4.3 meters per second. 2 gens completed, 4.4 meters per second. 3 gens completed, 4.5 meters per second. 4 gens completed, 4.6 meters per second. 5 gens completed, 4.7 meters per second. And endgame collapse initiated, 4.8 meters per second, which is 120% movement speed. So he gets really fast. And after with the 4th gen, he's as fast as a normal killer, or the faster killers, whatever, with their normal movement speed. But after the 5th gen, he's already faster than them on base. So yeah, that's the idea behind him. Maybe the progression could be a bit faster already, because I feel like he has a pretty heavy disadvantage, and I don't know if his powers 1 and 2 and alternate 1 are actually assisting enough. On the other hand, having 120% movement speed as a normal thing might be kind of hard, especially if you have closed the hatch. You also have an endgame collapse, which also would bring him up to 120% movement speed. So, well, it would be interesting to see. Anyway, perks. First perk, math test. Skill checks change into math problems with multiple choice answers. Effects that reduce or increase the skill check zone, reduce or increase the available time to pick an answer. Great skill checks are avoided for are rewarded for fast answers. So you have 3 answers, because that's one of the staple things from Baldi's Basics. And of course, giving one impossible to answer question would be, well, this is the way it will work, is there will be 3 answers, I guess, or maybe 4. And it will be a not too difficult math test, but you'll have to be on your feet. And then you'll have to click on the right one before the time runs out. Or else skill check failed. Next perk. Blind testing. Progression bars disappear for the last 25, 50, or 75% of the action you're doing. So let's say you have it on tier 2, which is 50%. After half of the cleansing time from a totem is over, the bar disappears. or a gen's repair bar disappears, or a gate's unlocking bar disappears, or a chest's opening bar disappears, it doesn't mean that you aren't continuing to open it. It doesn't mean that you're not continuing to open the exit gate or powering the exit gate. It doesn't mean the gen isn't being reported. You just don't know how far you are. And you have to make an educated guess. And if the killer is coming towards you, you'll have to make an educated guess. Do I risk it or don't I? Last perk. Perfect gameplay. The survivors get 9, 6, or 3 tokens. Failing a skill check removes 2 tokens. Getting a good skill check removes 1 token. Getting a great skill check removes 0 tokens. When hitting 0 tokens, or when you have no tokens left, the survivor is exposed for 30 seconds and screams in anger, after which the tokens are reset. I'm not quite sure about the resetting part. I think it would be okay. But then again, might be too broken. Maybe the amount of tokens would need to be increased. It's a very, very variable thing with the skill checks. It's kind of in the direction of the old rune, but not on progression, more on one-hit downing. But it fits kind of to Baldi. So, do you like my take on the teacher, on Baldi, from Baldi's Basics? It is at this point that I would like to thank Lennox Animation Studios again. I have linked his YouTube channel down below, as well as his video on Baldi's chase music for Dead by Daylight. Go ahead and check it out. Do you have improvements, criticism? Leave them in the comments. If you have a killer that you would like me to do, put them in the comments or hop into my Twitch chat. I stream every Monday and Tuesday and every other Wednesday and Friday. Until next time, toodles.